Hey guys, just wanted to chime in and let you know that single day and full weekend passes are still available for Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, May 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Mapfre Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Be sure to check out the link in the description of this video to find out more. I still have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing for these ads. One thing I haven't noticed a lot of other people doing is highlighting the art of this art and music festival. Granted, yeah, the music's a pretty big part of it, yeah. But Sonic Temple is also going to house some amazing art installations, live mural painting, poster artists, performance art, and live screen printing all throughout each day of the show. And I'm actually pretty excited to see that as well, personally. So you know what, let's take a minute to highlight some of the artists that are appearing here in addition to the bands. That's the Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, May 17th through the 19th, Mapfre Stadium, Columbus, Ohio. Check out the link in the description. SWMRS, or, well, I guess how it's spelled, SWMRS, because vowels are for squares, you pleb. Just ask Starve. Okay, now I need a glass of water. Wow. Anyway, SWMRS is a band that technically debuted around 2016, and I remember hearing a lot of buzz around their last album, Drive North, but I just never quite got around to it. What can I say? I was busy as hell in 2016. I missed a lot of stuff, but I had a lot of friends who really dug this group, so I was happy to see this get requested. Maybe now I'll be one of the cool kids, and you'll invite me to go to the mall instead of that goddamn fuckboy Steve. Fuck you, Steve. Nobody really likes you. They just hang with you because your parents are rich. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, SWMRS. I gotta say, I like what I hear here. The musicianship is very tight and the grooves are extremely well controlled. It's got a restrained feel to it. It's very precise and almost mechanical in places, but it never feels cold or industrial. It has the warmth and flavor of pop music, the wicked grooves of something almost close to dance music, but also still has tons of indie quirk that lends it a lot of charm and likability. It's almost like Gang of Four met new radicals in a darkened alley and beat the shit out of them until they came out looking like Block Party. It's kind of awesome. They're a band that's hard to classify. Wikipedia says they're punk rock, but I have a feeling if they opened for NoFX, they'd get booed straight out of Gilman Street. They also qualify them as pop punk too, but I'd say these guys are probably a bit too much for all the 12-year-olds standing neck deep in water parks too. Oh, there just isn't like a comfortable middle ground where they reside necessarily. The Wikipedia also lists them as surf punk too, so that serves as a grim reminder as to why you don't use Wikipedia as a source. What I'm trying to get at here is that yeah, they are a band that's doing their own thing, and it's a thing that is extremely difficult to classify, but in a very good way. They're unique, and they're doing some cool and interesting new things with the genre that they are, well, if not a part of, at least adjacent to in some ways. The album was a very pleasant surprise for me, and I get now why there was so much buzz around these guys. They're genuinely talented, and yeah, there's definitely something there to take heed of. It's not the deepest music in the world for sure, and perhaps some of its quirkier elements will be a turnoff to some. Like if you're the person who finds car seat headrests' sense of goofiness as more pretentious than charming, this album is a bit more up that particular alley, so you might want to tread a little cautiously. And I also have to admit the album does kind of have Pup's morbid stuff problem in that it's kind of a great big old bummer. It isn't the most sunshiny happy of albums, but like Morbid stuff too, it's got the tunes to back itself up, so I totally didn't mind it at all. It's a bummer, but it's a fun bummer, if that makes any sense, so I'm still down. If you're looking for something interesting with just the right touches of indie and just the right touches of pop, with also just the right dash of punk seasoning to keep things spicy, Berkley's On Fire is definitely one to pick up. I can highly recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. Berkley's On Fire gets 4.5 missing vowels out of 5. Neal Morse Band. This was something I wasn't familiar with, if I'm being honest. Then I did more research on the guy and found out he was a founding member of Spock's Beard, and a few little memory bells started ringing in my head. Oh yeah, I remember them. I remember them being like the prog band that could get even too proggy for some prog heads. Like, the name alone pretty much lets you know you are in for a deep nerd prog experience. Whatever this guy's doing, it's probably going to be pretty niche, so okay, this guy used to be a part of that scene. That's interesting. What's he been up to lately? Let's see. Became a born-again Christian, began a Christian rock solo career, releasing many progressive rock concept albums about his new religious faith. Oh no. Well, I mean, I say that, but in the past, I mean, I've stood up for plenty of Christian acts here and there. Fuck, A Christian Act was my second best album of the year last year, so I'm not exactly down when it comes to Christian rock, even though I'm a big fat atheist who swears all the time, votes Democrat, and boycotts the fuck out of Chick-fil-A. I get why my requester thought it would be a safe bet letting me handle this, because I'm not exactly one to write off a band just because they wear their faith on their sleeve. Hell, I still defend Skillet for God's sake, even though they have been doing their damnedest in recent years to make it impossible to defend them. I get why this came my way, but brother, just let me lay my cards down hard on this one.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
And you know what? I just gotta say it. A big part of why I don't care for this album is, well, how Christian it is. Let me back up a little. To me, the best kind of Christian music is the stuff you wouldn't immediately peg as being Christian. I mean, I never liked my Christian music to be terribly preachy, even when I was faithful. I mean, I used to wake up every single goddamn Sunday for all that preachy shit. Can I just have a little fun here and there? Is that okay, Jesus? Stuff that gets too preachy has always gotten under my skin, and this album, oof, it's pretty preachy. Preachy and super corny. It's that super duper nerdy prog rock that I mentioned earlier, combined with all the super dorky bad Christian rock tropes. It's the worst of both worlds. I think if you get caught buying this album in public, it actually restores your V-card. This album is like if Rush had a Bob Dylan evangelical turn in the 80s, but somehow never had the sense smacked back into them and never progressed very far out of like 1988. And I kinda hate saying all this too, because, you know, even for that kind of material, it's not bad necessarily. I mean, some of the guitar work here is absolutely stunning. Say whatever you want about the guy, the dude can play, and not all of his song construction is bad. People who are into that ultra deep level of prog rock complexity will find more than a few things to like here. From a raw technical level, it isn't bad at all, at least as far as most of the guitar work is concerned. But oh God, even that can't save this thing. For one, the production is very contemporary Christian feeling, in that it sucks balls. It sounds like a prog album that's being mixed like a damn praise and worship album. Like, just imagine if Dream Theater's last record had been mixed by Stephen Curtis Chapman. and somehow had even worse lyrics. And that Dream Theater comparison isn't a random ass pull either. Did you know that Mike motherfucking Portnoy is playing on this thing? I shit thee not, he is. He's been the drummer for this band pretty much since day one, actually. I'm sorry, but he is just clearly doing this as a favor for a friend, because my god, the drums are on autopilot. It's bad. You know, if I were Mike, I would just straight up ask to go uncredited on these albums. I mean, I know I'm dunking pretty hard on this album, but guys, it's not really an enjoyable listen unless you're just really already into this kind of thing. But you know, there's a lot of stuff on this album that would push away even people who have a stronger stomach for this kind of thing. The preachy lyrics, the shitty cliched narrative, the horrid mixing, the image of Mike Portnoy being sad and collecting a paycheck. But I gotta admit, the worst thing about this album has to be its crushing, miserable length. An hour and 45 minutes. Oh my god, and I complained about the last Demon Hunter albums. And I know it's not unheard of in prog circles for albums to run this long, especially in the deep prog scene that Neal is a part of. But guys, it will not take you an hour and 45 minutes to determine whether this is gonna be your thing or not. It's just... Look, an album that's longer than most films better be one of the best goddamn albums of the year, or else you're just jerking off. And I thought Christians weren't supposed to do that. Again, major case of not my thing-itis with this one. Take my review here with massive grains of salt, but I just have a feeling this isn't gonna be for most people. This is niche beyond niche beyond niche, and if you got the stomach for this much corny Christian prog, then be my guest, but it is so not getting a recommendation out of me. I'm sorry. The Great Adventure gets 2 sad Portnoys out of 5. Here we go. Let's wash the taste of Carman out of our mouths with something nice and evil, shall we? Yay! Rotting Christ. Man, now there's a band that just lays it all out there for you, don't they? They don't have the Lamb of God problem where your Nana could accidentally buy it thinking, oh, what is this something the kids are listening to? Lamb of God. I mean, hey, these guys are certainly wearing what they're all about on their sleeves, and you kinda gotta respect them for that, if nothing else. But then, this is a band that has certainly earned that right. This is one of the longest running black metal groups out there, and they're still going strong even to this day. Having been blazing the Blackened Trail since 1987, this particular Christ has been rotting for some time now. Can only imagine how terrible it must smell. But facetiousness aside, you can definitely tell how influential this band has been over the years, as you can hear their resonance in everyone from Behemoth to Immortal. This is a very first wave black metal band. You know, the really classic stuff before all those Norwegian punk kids started pig squealing into shitty mics, wearing too much makeup and setting churches on fire. The sound here is very... what is the word I'm looking for? Smooth? I mean, at least compared to what you usually hear in a lot of black metal these days. Vocalist Sakis Tolis has a very clean and deep baritone sound to his voice. He's not quite growling, he's not quite screaming, but he's putting on just enough dark affectation to make it sound just evil enough to sell it. And he's not at all afraid to straight up clean sing from time to time, or even bring out some spoken word here and there. It's something I found surprisingly refreshing, at least when it comes to most black metal, because so many other bands in the genre these days are so keen to out-brutal each other that it can almost border on parody, you know? And the rest of the instrumentation also struck a very nice groove with me. Again, this is classic sounding black metal. It basically sounds a lot like church music if everyone just woke up one Sunday and decided, you know what? Fuck it, let's switch teams. There's a strong use of chorale vocals, ominous sounding keyboards, and subtle elements of classical and chamber music thrown in there, along with all the heavy distorted guitars and pounding vicious drums. It, ironically enough, adds this very relaxing and pleasant sound to everything. Like, it's heavy for sure, but there's a lulling kind of comfortability to it. A lot like how Satan himself isn't so much into the evil and scariness as you might think he would be. He's more into lulling you into a false sense of security and comfortableness, getting you all fat and happy and reassured before inflicting all the Hellraiser shit on you. You know, that's how Satan usually works. A lot of black metal bands these days are so caught up in being scary that they forget that evil can have a smooth side to it as well, and that's something that Rotting Christ does an excellent job of capturing. And in a genre that can be so extreme and intense, it's nice to see a group that's so firmly grounded and just genuinely appealing. Like, this is the kind of band that can get people who aren't immediately familiar with this style of music into the genre. If you've always been curious and could use a starting point that, you know, won't set your house on fire, I can sincerely recommend this album. Rotting Christ have been doing this kind of thing right for over 3 decades now, and ironically enough, the passage of time hasn't done much to rot out their sound. The Heretics gets 4.5 shocked grandmas out of 5. Beast in Black, eh? What do we have here? Finnish band, power metal, still fairly new. Album art looks like something that'd be bitching on the side of a panel van. Is this one of those albums where I'm gonna know exactly what they sound like based on the cover alone? Yep, well, this will be an easy one to talk about at least. Beast in Black came into being around 2015, and they cite bands like Judas Priest, Manowar, Wasp, and Black Sabbath as influences, though there is one band in particular that they draw a lot of influence from. In fact, let's play a game. For those of you who don't already know, look at this cover, look at the band's name, and even dig them up and listen to 1 or 2 of their most popular songs. Without looking up all of their history, tell me what band you think influenced them the most. I'll give you a minute. How many of you said Battle Beast? Congratulations, a winner is you. But yeah, the similarities between this band and Battle Beast are really hard to ignore here, especially when you take into account that this band was founded by an ex-Battle Beast guitarist. It's kinda crazy similar. The song crafting is very similar, the sense of bravado and camp are very similar. Hell, even the name isn't that much different. Beast in Black? That's totally the generic brand Dr. Pepper of power metal acts here. Legally distinct enough from their source material, but it's not fooling anyone as to what it's trying to be. You know what I mean? I think I might be giving off the wrong impression. It sounds like I'm being kind of down on Blackle Beast here, but despite how crazy similar this band sounds to its older sister, there is still something I found very satisfyingly delightful about these guys. I mean, yeah, it sounds a lot like Battle Beast, but Battle Beast is a band that's pretty fucking sweet, and these guys do have the same level of playing ability and hook construction to make for a damn catchy power metal bop in and of itself. And while you could definitely point the plagiarism finger at them, you could do the very same thing to Battle Beast themselves with a few other bands they're kind of knocking off, if you really think about it. You know, it is what it is. I'm just saying it's got the whiff of copycatting about it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. They have a great sense of melody. Everyone can play their instruments very well. There's some extremely pleasant synth choices thrown in there, and it's got that same sense of cheese metal appeal and general sense of melodrama that makes it a fun as hell thing to shut your brain off to. It's just a wicked experience to throw this album on in the background and build a sick-ass D&D character to. Admittedly, if you are a die-hard Battle Beast fan, you might have a little trouble getting over that particular fact, if only because they do sound similar enough to their old cohorts to be distracting, and their lead singer, while extremely talented, make no doubt, ain't no Nora Luhimo. Then again, not many people are. If this brand of goofy, over-the-top power metal is your kind of thing, you probably won't mind it either way. It's fun, it's well played, it's brandishing a +10 broadsword of beefiness. There's not really much to complain about here. If you like what you hear, definitely feel free to go nuts with it. It's not the most original thing out there, but it's copying a thing that rules and doing it pretty well, so I don't know, we all win here. Plus, you know, any band with the balls to cover Killed by Death and do it completely straight-faced, I don't know, I gotta respect that. From Hell with Love gets 4 squeezed lizards out of 5 snakes put on you. Saor, or is it Saor? Saor? Soar? Okay, those of you who like to be super pedantic about my inability to pronounce things properly, have fun commenting me into oblivion on this one. The Black Metal Patch Kids is definitely a unique band to find its way to my door. A one-man project care of Scottish multi-instrumentalist Andy Marshall, making something that he defines as Caledonian metal? Again, am I mispronouncing that? Caledonian? Salad? Well, what the hell does this mean? Let me look it up. Oh, okay, it's just Scottish metal. It's Scottish. Well, then why didn't I hear any bagpipes, god damn it? 0 out of 10. Wouldn't Rowdy Roddy Piper again. I would honestly say that's a fair descriptor for what Marshall is doing on this project. I sure as hell wouldn't know what else to call this, as this is another artist that just kinda does their own thing. It's hard to classify what he's doing here into words. It's a damn intriguing mixture of European black metal with a heavy influence of Celtic folk and traditional Scottish music. There's an eclectic and frankly gorgeous selection of instrumentation being utilized on this record. Lots of wonderful fiddle and elegant string work, some wind instrumentation that I can't quite pinpoint. I would say there's definitely some traditional flutes on here, but maybe there's also like tin whistles and other stuff like that as well. I never got the hang of woodwinds, what can I tell you? But they're all over this thing, and they're also extremely pleasant. Not to mention the oodles of gorgeous piano work and absolutely singing electric guitar solos and lead work peppered all throughout this album. It's a really bold and unique and stunningly beautiful mix of dark metal and folk tones. It's a sound that's distinctively Scottish. Nobody else out there is making music that sounds like this, and I gotta say, I was super impressed by what I heard, even if it was all too brief. This album, only 4 tracks long, and it isn't an EP either. It has the run length of a full album, it's just that out of the 4 songs, 3 of them eclipse the 10+ minute mark. That might sound intimidating to some of you, but for all the times you guys have had to hear me gripe about run length on albums over the years, here is an exquisite example where the long running times are 100% worth it. See, I don't always bitch about everything being too long, honest. These songs do run long, but they never feel long. They engross you in a sense of sonic blissfulness. It's a dark and enveloping sound that settles over your mind like fog and whisks you away to the Scottish Highlands to drift over the valleys and meadows in a temporal sereneness. You become lost in its melodies as it takes you across sonic landscapes, and watch on in amazed glory as Ramirez teaches Connor MacLeod how to sword fight. Or maybe I just fell asleep watching Highlander again. Either way, this album is both beautiful in its elegance and impressive in its density. It honestly reminds me of, like, mid-period Rush albums like A Farewell to Kings or Hemispheres. Those are also fairly short albums with very few individual tracks on them, but oh my god, the stuff they're able to cram into 4 to 5 songs will leave you blown away. And I gotta say, I was having the same sort of general feel with this album here. Saor is just something you have to experience for yourself. Nothing I can say here will do this album justice. It's a brave, transcendent, and all too brief and fleeting experience, but it's one that is simply mesmerizing. You'll find yourself coming back to this one a lot. Even if you aren't into heavy music, this is just something you have to try to see if it clicks with you. It's just, God, I don't want you to miss out on this. This one comes highly recommended. More people should know about this group. Holy shit. Forgotten Paths gets 5 McLeods out of 5.
Super special thanks to Color Around and Neal Morse.